That was the chat that I had with Fatum on our upcoming track, Shall We Have Vocals? I decided to go into the rabbit hole and once for all conclude if the vocals are really the key for success in techno today.
Yeah, I don't like this angle at all, I'm sorry.
Use that hairstyle.
This one?
Like if you take a look at 10 years ago, vocals are just speeches, right? From the movies, more from documentaries or interviews and so forth.
I think what melodic techno needed to do was it needed to have that connection with the audience that only vocals can do. The spoken word is a very natural and human form of communication that really gets a point across directly.
You see, Daniel had a point. In all the other genres, when you have a track only for 2-3 minutes, it's much easier to use vocals to convey the emotions.
I'll wake you up in the morning with some tea and toast. Thank you very much.
But what went wrong? Why techno didn't embrace the vocals in the beginning?
Because of the narrow approach of it being underground, like it was kind of taboo to have vocals. I don't want to do vocals because that's not what techno is.
Whether it is from the other side of the Atlantic in Detroit or from the heart of the Europe in Berlin, techno ethos were the same. Freedom, equality, futurism, escape, catharsis, and a lot of people dancing together to feel all these emotions at once.
Was begeistert euch so an der Techno-Musik?
Ja, ich finde, die drückt die Gefühle der heutigen Zeit am besten aus. Die Kälte in der Gesellschaft halt.
You know, techno, if we were going to brand it, it would be kind of rebellious. It's very its own thing. You can't tell me what to do.
So from the start, it was an underground movement. It was about doing things differently compared to what they had on the mainstream or what is called popular. And from pop music to rock and to metal music, everything was really dominated by vocal performances in that time. However, there was a technical side to this story.
I thought this acid sound is made with a wall like this back then, because the sound was so cosmic. And then I got this box, and I was a little bit disappointed. But as soon as I connected this, I fall in love. And I'm still in love.
With the introduction of drum machines and synthesizers, everything became very affordable. For the first time in the history, one person could sit down in their room and produce everything in their own. It was the birth of modern producers as we know
303, like this is a 606 and a 202. These are just like, they look like toys, but they really can do a lot of damage.
While for the first time, producers had all the gear they need to create a whole track, they didn't have the financials or the energy to really get a singer to sing their track. I'm sure this is something even resonates with the modern producers of today. It was much more convenient to sit in your room, do everything together, and just ignore the vocals.
Back in the 90s, I was supposed to play for 1 hour. Something happened, and I played a live show, only analog gear, for 10 hours. In the end, I had my finger bleeding crazy. And what I did was I wrote raw acid with my own blood.
It is easy to understand why techno didn't include much vocals in the beginning. However, after 40 years, both the technological space and the norms had been changed.
The best portion of a show is a sing-along, you know, in my opinion.
You don't mean the rolling bass? Come on, rolling bass is the best.
Yeah, I can't. Like, if I want to participate with the rolling bass, I'd be like, like seeing a bunch of people do that in the crowd, I don't know if that's gonna... I'm like, man, what are you on?
So if you do the same thing, tracks without vocals for so many years, it basically becomes the norm and everybody expects it. Therefore, it starts to conflict with the idea of techno being different. And when it comes to vocals being expensive or hard to come by, that completely changed with the introduction of the modern DAWs. Vocals, especially how we process the vocals, has been changed drastically because producers no longer have to pay thousands of euros just to get a simple compressor. But to understand how vocals changed, maybe we take a look what type of vocals exist at the moment if we oversimplify it. Many of us indeed familiar with harmonic vocals where there are a lot of vocal harmonies, there are a lot of melodies inside the vocal. An example would be something like this.
So don't waste your time on her, and let me show you what we can be.
If you take a look at the vocals, we will see that a lot of different harmonies, both micro harmonies and macro harmonies exist in the vocal. This is the most common type of harmonic vocals we see every day. For many years, techno utilized another type of vocals, which basically was speeches taken from interviews or movies. We can take an example from my own track that is called Valeo. In the middle of the track, I have a speech.
Much as I think our life in this world is often a pretty messy affair.
When you take a look at the harmonies in the speeches, of course it will be just flat. It was super simple to sample this one into any track that you want. So the third version arises when you combine these two. So you make the vocals speech-like. So the melodies are much more minimal and the lengths are much shorter. So it doesn't really take over the track compared to the harmonic singing. Let's take a look at a track from Anima that is called Reminding.
And against you keep your dreams on a leash.
First, we have super short speech-like vocals, and then we have very minimal futuristic vocals right afterwards.
Reminding me.
It enhances the ambience that we are going for the breaks in melodic techno. And sometimes they get even more minimal.
Dance with me. Let's go. Dance with me.
And sometimes they get more melodic. But observe that the melodies and harmonies are still much more minimal and simplistic than the common singing that we hear in other popular tracks. If you enjoyed the video up to now, please consider subscribing and giving a like. It is free, but it helps me tone.
The spoken word is really popular right now. Phrases just being said, I think, is kind of the trend right now, currently.
While all this is happening on the side, there is one final piece to the puzzle. After 2015, there is one genre in techno that started to take over, and that was called melodic techno. It is still debated, but melodic techno had the roots both from trance and techno at the same time, melting them into one single pot. BPM was decreased 120 to 125 BPM. Melodies got less uplifting compared to trance, and it had more melodic progression compared to classical techno that we knew of. And cherry on top was softer percussion reminiscence of minimal techno.
It was very dreamlike, and I think that that's where the melodic techno came from. It was like this very dreamy, I'm in Tulum, like nothing really matters, like that kind of thing.
This is also debatable, but first superstar of melodic techno was most probably Stephan Bodzin. Especially his album Powers of 10, which is released in 2015, is regarded one of the most iconic and successful melodic techno albums ever made. But the album didn't have any vocals apart from some ahs in the track that's called Birth. But the things about to change exponentially when another iconic name came into the neighboring scene, electronica and melodic house, and his name was Monolink. Monolink blew into popularity simply because of his fresh, minimal, ethereal and melancholic vocals. However, in theory, his vocals had everything to make it work in melodic techno as well. And of course, it was not too long until his tracks picked up by big gun melodic techno producers and the remixes come running down. First, the Monolink come and change the whole melodic house completely. He's extremely good singer, and then comes the remixes, right? They took those very harmonic vocals and changed it into more like a phrasal vocals. Techno producers took harmonic vocals and bend them a little bit and make them a bit more phrasal vocals.
That you come back to me. Yeah, I got this feeling.
And those those vocals were mainly used in between the big drops, so the break was a perfect place to create these ethereal and melancholic phrases to make everything a bit more emotional. Which brings us to the breaking point of melodic techno. It is year 2019 and we hear for the first time the mighty remix of Return to Oz by ArtBat, which is of course a remix of an original Monolink track. We have these big leads and arpeggios at the drops, and in between at the break we have this beautiful ethereal and phrasal Monolink vocals.
Queen with 100 heads.
Which later became the modern techno recipe. But this was not only big thing happening in melodic techno. There was even bigger movement brewing on the side. In 2017, there was a visionary label came into the existence that is called Afterlife. The label was founded by Tale of Us with the idea of combining musical experience together with visual experience. Tale of Us had their debut EP in Afterlife in 2017. The opening track was Introduction to the Sound of the Afterlife, and the track is ethereal soundscape, minimal drums, driving bass lines, and you guessed it, phrasal vocal frames. The sound of Afterlife snowballed after 2017 and reaching its peak in 2022. And phrasal vocals have been embraced in melodic techno since then. In 2022, 13 of top 15 tracks in melodic techno has vocals in it. And if you think that it ends with melodic techno, you will be so wrong.
And so I think what happened was they teased a little bit with melodic techno, introducing the idea to techno fans. Vocals aren't so taboo, they're not so negative. Get our message across directly.
Techno had already the idea of including speeches and interviews, but phrasal vocals also found its way to peak time techno tracks. Similar to melodic techno, in 2022, a whopping 11 of top 15 tracks in peak time techno tracks has a phrasal vocals in them.
I think that is the next phase of the breadcrumb effect of having phrases. Now we're having spoken words, and now pretty soon people are going to be singing all over techno. You know?
Yeah, the Monolink is sitting in his chair and like laughing everybody and telling that I was 10 years ahead of my time. It's kind of obvious from the data. The vocals are indeed has taken over techno. So the question is, does this the end of techno as we know it? The truth is, the techno of 80s and 90s has long been gone. Because culture, music and the technology constantly evolves and nothing really stays the same. And for those who love techno, this means only one thing. There's an exciting and new chapter of techno waiting ahead.
Pretty soon it's just going to be dead silence. It's just going to be a track of dead silence, and it's just so forward thinking. And oh my gosh, like, did you hear that silence track? At some point we're just stripping everything away from it. But you got to get excited about people getting excited about the music that you love.
So, what do we need for the track?
We need a vocal. We need somebody to sing something super beautiful on top.
The question also is where we want the vocal.
The vocal is what's the identity of the song. Right now we have like a really well-produced melodic techno song, and I think that the vocal is going to be the soul of the record. So I think that the vocal can go on the first part, it can go on the drop, and go on the breakdown. It can be angelic, it could be choral words.
I'm thinking like a bit minimal vocals with a bit more phrases rather than full sentences, a bit like shortened. Depends a bit on the vocal, I guess.
I think that there's opportunity for a lot of different types of vocals for this. It's very minimal on the drops, so there's a lot of room for a vocal.
And this is the point I want to collaborate with you. So if you're a singer and if you want to join us making this track, what we're going to do now is actually take a chord progression of a part of the track. And you can sing anything that you like that fits. If you send your demo to thebiscuitofficial@gmail.com.
We are excited about something fresh and new, and it can only come from you. So please send us your vocals.
Every time I ask help to my community, always came really cool stuff out of it. But there's one more thing.
We're also looking to collaborate with other people in the community who know Unreal Engine 5 specifically, help create some sort of visual world for you guys to go along with this song and other songs in the future. Biscuit and Fatum meeting me and Bruce. We're excited to do multiple projects together here on YouTube and in the studio, but also we want to be able to build worlds. So contact your girl, Alice.
The person that will be helping us will be, of course, paid for the work that they do. Also, the mail address here, contact us here.
Contact us up
editor
here.
decides to put it. If you want to see more about the story behind melodic techno and how a live show looks like, I have a video over here. Take a look.
I think that this part should be just cut for sure because it's going to sound way too negative.